Welcome to KZGN News. Today we have news from the Ridgecrest Police Department checkpoint, along with news on election integrity, a judicial candidate update, along with an overnight fire. I'm Tanya Pyle, bringing you today's news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
The Ridgecrest Police Department announced their traffic unit will be conducting a driving under the influence driver's license checkpoint today at an undisclosed location within the city limits between the hours of 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. RPD's DUI enforcement team will also be deployed to stop and arrest alcohol, drug-impaired drivers in the department's ongoing traffic safety campaign. DUI saturation patrols will deploy today between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. in areas where high frequencies of DUI collisions and/or arrests. The deterrent effect of DUI checkpoints is a proven resource, reducing the number of persons killed and injured in alcohol or drug-involved crashes. Research shows crashes involving impaired drivers can be reduced by up to 20% when well-publicized DUI checkpoints and proactive DUI patrols are conducted routinely. DUI checkpoints are placed in locations based on collision statistics and frequency of DUI arrests, affording the greatest opportunity for achieving drunk and drug driving deterrence. Locations are chosen with safety considerations for the officers and the public. In California, this deadly crime led to 867 deaths and over 23,000 serious injuries in 2013 because someone failed to designate a sober driver. Nationally, the latest data shows over 10,000 people were killed by an impaired driver. Officers will be looking for signs of alcohol and/or drug impairment, with officers checking drivers for proper licensing, delaying motorists only momentarily. Specially trained officers will be available to evaluate those suspected of drug-impaired driving, which now accounts for a growing number of impaired driving crashes. Recent statistics reveal 30% of drivers in fatal crashes had one or more drugs in their systems. A study of active drivers showed more tested positive for drugs that may impair driving than did for alcohol. Of the drugs, marijuana was most prevalent at 7.4%, slightly more than alcohol, but everyone should be mindful if you're taking medication, whether prescription or over-the-counter. Drinking even small amounts of alcohol can greatly intensify the impairment effects. Law enforcement emphasizes the preventable nature of drunk driving, reminding everyone all it takes is a little planning ahead. Designate a sober driver or call a cab. The California Office of Traffic Safety Designated Driver VIP mobile app is now available for free download on iOS and Android devices. Launched last year, the new app offers enhanced features, allowing users to map a spot with their current location to find partnering establishments throughout California. Users will be offered free incentives at each bar to celebrate their life-saving role. They can stay up to date and see what other users are saying via its social tab. Drivers caught driving impaired can expect the impact of a DUI arrest to include jail time, fines, fees, DUI classes, other expenses that can exceed $10,000, plus increased insurance costs, not to mention the embarrassment when friends and family find out. Funding for this checkpoint is provided to Ridgecrest Police Department by a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety through the National Traffic Safety Administration, reminding everyone to report drunk drivers. Call 911. Face it, it's just not worth driving drunk. Don't do it. The person that might fall victim to a drunk driver could be your family member or friend. Election Integrity Project has strong concerns for the mail-in ballot voting process and asks citizens to carefully reconsider this method of voting where possible. EIP upholds we as Americans have the most rare privilege ever known in human history to freely and fairly choose who represents us in government through a democratic process. The privilege has overwhelmingly been taken for granted. Seldom do we stop to think about the process and how astonishing it is, how grateful we should be. It might be worth taking a moment to stop, to become aware of the process, and to resolve this is something we must never lose. Yet, EIP warns, if we do not become constant guardians of the system, vigilantly watching with a healthy skepticism of the system, corruption will seep in and doors to fraud will continue to corrupt the system. Subject to an electoral process that does not respect or protect our vote could result in inaccuracies. EIP research of the last 5.5 years has proven Californians are in just that situation. EIP maintains there is much we can do to regain what we have lost. Together we can regain an electoral process people can trust and find worthy of their participation. With that in mind, EIP research reveals concern for the vote-by-mail process, saying the in-ballot vote is a wiser choice, holds less risk and less likely to result in election corruption. Although both major parties encourage voting by mail and registrars of voters urge people become permanent vote-by-mail voters, and where 4 states have now become all vote-by-mail, EIP wants to spread the word on their vote-by-mail concerns. They want to arm citizens with a VBM consideration to help voters make the best ultimate decision. While the vote-by-mail option protects those unable to get to the polls on Election Day, most voters have the privilege of voting in person Election Day. EIP says there are some very good reasons to take advantage of that privilege in lieu of the pushing the easy button and choosing to vote by mail. They ask voters consider the following. Vote by mail ballots are not secret ballots. They have your name on them. If you have the choice, it is important to protect the right to a secret ballot by not voluntarily surrendering it. If you return your completed ballot by mail, you are most likely voting very early without all the information necessary to cast an informed vote. Campaigning continues until Election Day and information continues to surface. Voters who submit a ballot up to 3+ weeks early may come to regret an unalterable decision. Your vote-by-mail ballot is vulnerable while it is in the mail to you. It can be lost, mangled, or stolen. Election Integrity Project poll observers noted that unexpected numbers of people presented themselves at the polls in 2012, claiming their mail-in ballot never arrived. Poll observers and precinct inspectors estimated the number doubled, even tripled in 2014. Those voters cast provisional ballots, while the big question arose, what happened to the original ballots? Clearly, the county elections office did not fail to send them, and the post office is not that inefficient. Certainly, voter error accounts for some of the reports, but it would be naive not to consider the specter of ballot harvesting, a practice detected and verified as recently as the 2014 election. If any one of the missing ballots had been harvested and voted by someone else, the provisional votes cast by the victims likely did not count because the records would reflect a previous vote in their name. EIP cited from John Fund's book, Stealing Elections, vote-by-mail ballots are a major source of fraud and disenfranchisement. Election Integrity Project poll observers reported voters in 2012 who reported their status was changed to vote by mail without their knowledge or permission, yet did not receive a ballot in the mail. Observers and precinct inspectors noted the numbers of ballots doubled or tripled in 2014, whether the ballots were redirected to another address or stolen before they reached the voters. Those voters' only option was to vote by provisional ballot on Election Day. If someone had usurped and voted their VBM ballot, their provisional ballot would have been rejected, resulting in instant disenfranchisement, and the voter would probably never know. Assume your ballot reaches you without mishap, as most will. It becomes vulnerable again when you mail it back. Trustworthy as the Postal Service is, mail does get mishandled, and well-placed mole in the system could purposely misdirect or mangle ballots from pre-selected people or neighborhoods. It is not a chance worth taking. A candidate for Judicial C34 spoke at the Ridgecrest Republican Women's April Luncheon. Here's her presentation in review. Judicial C34 candidate Tiffany Organ Bowles said she's aspiring, not retiring, to the judicial seat. Organ Bowles came from Bakersfield to attend the April Republican Women's Luncheon. Presently, she's an attorney with the Kern County's district attorney's office. Judicial Seat 34 incumbent judge is retiring after being censored by the California Commission on Judicial Performance with the state bar due to a disgraced relationship with the county clerk. Bowles said first and foremost, she regards integrity of the bench as what's important to this election. The person on the bench must work within their oath and have a reputation for honesty. Organ Bowles has 11 years experience with the district attorney's office. She's worked various branch courts prosecuting cases of domestic violence, DUIs, homicides, and juvenile court. It was through her work in juvenile court, Organ Bowles determined her desire to work as a judge, seeing how parties relate to each other. She describes the juvenile area, a place where parties work together to find the best solution within the law to make the best decision for a minor. She has worked closely with judges, bench officers, and is prepared to work as necessary with Congress, the Senate, and the Assembly. Tiffany Organ Bowles is endorsed for the 34th District Judicial Seat by Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood, former Bakersfield Mayor Mary Kay Schell, retired Judge Gary Engel, retired Judge Sharon Mettler, and Kern County High School Police Chief Lepetegui. If elected, Organ Bowles would be the 6th woman of 38 Kern County judges. Stay tuned to KZGN for more on the candidates for Assembly. Finally, a grim circumstance has a silver lining. The Kern County Fire Department received a call for a structure fire at 3:11 a.m. Thursday morning in the 200 block of Cisco Street. The caller reported hearing a loud explosion and could see a fire to the rear of an apartment unit when firefighters arrived. They encountered a fire that had extended into 3 adjoining single apartment units. Firefighters quickly attacked the fire and made search of the units. One unit was vacant. Each of the other units had 1 single occupant. Both occupants were able to escape unharmed. Firefighters protected the neighboring apartment units as they worked to extinguish the fire. A ruptured residential gas line continues to burn. PG&E is working to control the leak. Firefighters have isolated the area. Crews have yet to determine what caused the explosion and fire. Neighbors reported waking to sharp sounds like guns. Heather Smith told KZGN the guy in the apartment was blackened and was put up in a motel. I think he crawled out. You can see hand marks along the wall. My heart goes out to this guy, Smith said. Her friend's place in Unit C was not damaged, not even any smoke damage, Smith said. It was a miracle by God. Smith said she went over and prayed before fire trucks arrived. God had his hand on this. Of the triplex that burned, only 1 window was blown out of the unit. Nothing burned, not even drapes were touched. The place should be gone, Smith said. She said the fire was tall as her dad and said it sounded like a jet engine. I love my place. I'm very blessed my place didn't catch fire. I'm especially blessed that nothing happened to Cheryl's place. Her cat was inside. Smith said, it's God. That's all I can say. It's God's story, and it shows he's still in control, Smith said. Don Brame and his daughter Tori live behind the burning unit. Don called 911 and provided a video of the damage and the wonder of the residents who walked away without injuries. Carol Marcos, manager of the Desert Oasis community, said one of the 2 displaced occupants chose hotel lodging for the night. The other displaced occupant was relocated to another unit within the community housing. Marcos said she's eager to find out exactly what happened. Stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Here's Lane with the weather.
Thank you, Tanya. From the National Weather Service, showers and thunderstorms will develop over parts of the eastern United States today. A few of these storms over the Ohio Valley and southeast may be severe, with damaging winds and large hail. Another system will bring rain and possibly some thunderstorms to the western United States. Snow will also develop over the highest elevations of the northern and central Rockies and Sierras. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 72, Georgia at 65, Arkansas at 76, northern Texas at 73, Arizona at 85, and Los Angeles at 67. And for us locally, tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 53, west wind 20 to 25 miles per hour with gusts as high as 35. Saturday, sunny with a high near 78, south-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 53, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 80, west-northwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday night, partly cloudy with a low around 52, west wind 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts as high as 30. Monday, mostly sunny with a high near 69, west wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 30. Monday night, partly cloudy with a low around 47, west wind 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 30. And Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high near 75, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that's your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tanya.
Thanks, Lane. Now here's Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Friday early evening to everyone. Let's talk about Saracoso baseball. Good come-from-behind win yesterday. They beat Victor Valley 11-10. The game was tied at 10 going into the 7th inning, and Biggie Hernandez, a former Burrow star, hit a home run to left field to give the Coyotes a 1-run lead and eventually the win. Hernandez also came on in the 9th inning to get the save for the team. Jeremiah Johnson, also a graduate of Burroughs High School, had a very good game, had 4 hits yesterday in the win. Let's talk about Burroughs High School baseball. The team's still undefeated in the league. They'll take on today a very good Oak Hills team over in Hesperia, softball team at home. Speaking of the softball team, they had a great come-from-behind win on Wednesday. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning via 2 home runs to beat Apple Valley. Angels had a decent week in Chicago. They split games. They played 4 of them. They win on Thursday by a score of 3-2. The team now 7-9 early on. They will take on Seattle tonight at the Big A for 3 games over the weekend. All right, the Marlins beat the Nationals yesterday. The Marlins 5-9 under the former Dodger mentor, Don Mattingly. The Rays over the Red Sox. Minnesota gets a win over Milwaukee. The Twins actually started 0-9. They're now 5-11, starting to do a little bit better. Arizona playing better baseball. They beat San Francisco. They're 9-8 this year. The Giants started out 6-2. They're now 7-10. Not well for the team up north. A's get a win yesterday. They're 9-7, despite the Angels sweeping them last week. Baltimore over Toronto. Baltimore 10-4, one of the best records in the game early on. The Cubs have the best record in the National League. They're 12-4. They beat Cincinnati 16-0. Kansas City wins, and the Rangers beat Houston. Houston, the former champion last year from the National League, now 5-11. All right, the NHL, the Ducks, they beat the Predators in Nashville 4-1. They tied that series at 2. They'll play the Game 5 Saturday in Anaheim. The Blackhawks beat St. Louis. They now lead 3-1 in that one. And Tampa Bay beats Detroit 4-1. They win the series in 5 games. NBA last night, Houston survives. They beat Golden State without Stephen Curry. They're now down 2-1 with game number 4 Saturday in Houston. Oklahoma City gets a win last night over Dallas. They're now 2-1 in the series in favor of Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant, 34 points last night. By the way, his former head coach at Oklahoma City, Scott Brooks, given the Wizards job, and maybe they're hoping that Kevin Durant will go play for Washington next year. The Raptors beat the Pacers. Toronto now with a 2-1 lead in that game. Paul George, 25 points for the Pacers in the loss. And Scott Brooks, as I mentioned, will be probably, they say he will be, all the news outlets forecasting that Scott Brooks, the former coach at Oklahoma City, will get the job with the Washington Wizards. That's your sports for this Friday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's our news for this evening. All of us here at KZGN know you have a choice, and we thank you for watching KZGN-TV News.